salary negotiation for contracts. I love it. Steve Green, what's happening, buddy? When considering contract assignments versus full-time roles, how do you approach salary negotiation for contract and contract to hire roles? Okay, I'm going to give you the ideal scenario. If you're going to negotiate for a contract, you just negotiate for the contract. You're going to pay me $100 an hour. I'm going to do this. Maybe we agree that we're going to visit this and revisit this in 90 days, 180 days, 270 days, or 365 days, whatever it is, right? And that's fine. And you negotiate. And how much money you want to make per hour can be dependent on a number of things, and it's more art than science. But remember, rule of thumb, there's about 2,000 working hours in a year, rough cut, just for fast math. If you make $100 an hour, you make $200,000 a year, except you're not getting benefits. You might not be getting vacation. You might not be getting other perks, long-term, incentive plans or disability or all these other things. Okay. So you have to keep that in mind when you quote a rate. Then if it's a contract to hire, let's say we negotiate $100 an hour and we decide in 6 months, you want to turn me into an employee. At $100 an hour, I'm roughly making $200,000, except you're also not getting all the other things, and you're not counting, and you're in the US, and you're not counting all the additional expenses the employer has to pay in terms of employer tax, right? There's another 16%. I'm like, there's a lot of other taxes they're going to have to, payroll tax and other things that they're going to do. They're also going to start putting in vacation. Every 1 week of vacation is 2% of salary. So if I give you a week of vacation, that's $4,000 effectively. Or if you're earning $100,000, it's $2,000. So you got to understand those kinds of things. Not to mention general paid holidays and other things like that go along with whatever the employer is going to give you as a perk. Not to mention there could be 401k matches. There could be just the fact that you have a 401k and are able to siphon off dollars that you don't have to pay taxes on, at least at the moment, and those kinds of things. So you might go from $200,000 to the equivalent to $150, except the $150 at $75 an hour, as opposed to the $100 an hour, is an even better deal for you. So those are the kind of things. Now, what I tend to do and recommend, and I actually coach a lot of people on this who are going through these scenarios where they're in a contract and they're trying to convert, and they're going to convert, and they're like, Andy, I need help negotiating this. So a lot of times what will happen is we will lay down for them. Steven, you're in the boot camp, so you have the grid, and you know what I'm talking about, right? So you got to identify, well, here's what you want me to do, goals and objectives, this and that. Now, if it's a contract to perm and you're staying in the same position, you have a running interview of 6 months or 3 months or 9 months or whatever it is, that a track record of proving yourself that you're a dang safe bet, right? Kind of thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be hiring you. And so you're going to lean on that as a throw-in of, hey, and I'm a good bet, and you could see obviously how I perform. But I would still be focused in the future, just like I was trying to negotiate a pay raise. But you're also not, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but you would go about it the same way. And I would prefer, the last thing I want to say about this is, you do not lock in your salary at the time you start a contract, meaning you don't say, I'm starting as a contractor today, and then in 6 months, I'm earning $100 an hour now, and in 6 months, you're going to pay me $150 in salary. Don't do that. Don't do anything until you get right up to the negotiation table for when they say, we want you to become a full-time employee. Because why? Because I want you looking for other opportunities along the way, and I want you to be able to hold those other opportunities, right, as leverage when you're negotiating your salary going forward with the company who you're going to be converting with. The other thing is, you might want to convert sooner than the 6 months. In 3 months of the 6 months, you might get a great job offer that, while really good, you would take it, but you'd prefer to work for the company who you're contracting with, right? How do you know what's going to happen? Then you turn to the company you're going to be contracting, or you're contracting with, and you say, look, I love you. I want to stay here. These guys gave me a great offer. Can we convert me now? Right, kind of thing. I don't want 150. I want 175. Right, kind of thing. Well, you won't use those words, but you know what I'm saying for purposes of illustration. So you want to be careful. You don't know. Do you have any tips for salary negotiations for somebody transferring from a contingent worker to an employee? There you go. Ian, what's a good way to negotiate a shift? There you go. Can an hourly wage be negotiated? Now, you got to remember, when you're a contractor, much of the time, what happens is if I'm the hiring company and I need certain people, contractors, even if it's just one, but let's say it's multiple, I'm working with a number of staffing firms at the same time, and I'm saying, can you get me an accountant? Can you get me 10 accountants? And what happens is I'm going to take the lowest cost ones, right? Because I consider those commoditized. I should be able to find them. I go to firms that have relationships so they can get them to me quickly. And this stuff is over in a matter of hours, not days. Okay. It's kind of like the rec goes out at 8 o'clock and then it doesn't, like by noon, I'm going to have 25 resumes kind of thing. So when you start negotiating hourly wages that are outside the boundaries of a contract, basically a contract rate that I would prefer to pay, you need to be pretty exceptional. And it's much, much harder to make an argument about the rarity when you're on a contract like this. Now, the other extreme is I'm so awesome that I don't want to be a full-time employee for everybody because I have such a rare skill that I contract myself out to the highest bidders and I can make a lot of money and people have to pay that because I'm so uniquely skilled or I have such an area of specialty. So you can use the same kind of negotiation tactics, right? You got to show your value and why it's so rare and all that other good stuff. But so you want to be really careful. So when you're working with a recruiter, and I would not even call recruiters who work for staffing firms recruiters, they're more agents than anything. But when you're working with that person and that person says, what is your rate? I'm inclined, if I just need the work, to say, what's the standard rate that they would normally pay to get the contractor to do that? And then I would decide if I was okay with that. And then I would say, yes, I'm comfortable with that. Or no, I'm not. Normally I receive whatever, but I wouldn't be so high because they're just going to move on to the next person. And if you're trying to negotiate this as an individual, but not through a staffing firm, then you just need to be careful. And it also is going to depend on your relationship, strength of your relationship with the person you're negotiating with, and whether you have a track record with them. So that's what I would say there.